Good morning. This is our second day at PMI Bulgaria chapter, broadcasting from Launchy, exploring and navigating the future of project economy. You are at the leadership track, and today is filled with different points of view on how we can become a better leader in projects. We would like to take you on a journey from managing the projects to leading the projects and tell you stories and share expertise on how to become a better project leader. But before that, let's write a letter to ourselves, to our younger self. This is a very good exercise for everyone to do. While you are at the top of the hill, you can think about the young version of yourself and what kind of advice you can give to this person who is at the start of their career. Aneta will give you a personal story on this. So stay tuned. Aneta, the floor is yours. We are listening to your story.
Thank you. So my name is Aneta Angova, and I'm engineering manager in cloud technology. I was given this incredible opportunity to share my leadership experience today on the conference. And I started wondering how to make the conference and the session most useful for the people joining. So I have chosen to share useful advice and guidance on the things to avoid and the opportunities you need to grab with both hands. For most of us, when we work for a decade, we tend to forget what are the challenges we had to overcome. And these are the challenges that our younger colleagues are facing at the moment. For this reason, my main motivation was to help others become a better version of themselves. Some words about me. I'm with 20 years of experience. I graduated as a Master of Computer Science in the Sofia University. And while I was a student in the third year of the faculty, I started a full-time job as a junior software developer and in parallel business administration in a different faculty. And maybe you will ask yourself why I have done it. Even back then, 20 years ago, I knew that at some point of time I will be switching to a leadership role. It was really exhausting in the beginning, and I had to overcome the challenges with the time management. One of the most important things I realized back then was that life isn't going to be all about the school and the books you read. It's a journey in which we never stop learning. And from the experience that I have in SAP Fort and Ocado technology, I learned that it is really important to compare your professional experience with your personal life as well and take the lessons that you learned during that time. I'm a mother of a daughter and a son, and they are my greatest teachers in life. I love to travel a lot together with them. And for some of the lessons that I've learned through these years, they were really difficult for me to absorb. But I made a personal goal to learn from something from them. And the passion and determination kept me on the right path through the challenging times and the lessons I have experienced. So I will start with leaders on all levels and why it's important. I'm passionate about the personal growth, and in the past I have benefited a lot from learning from my mentors. I also passionate about giving back and inspiring the next generation of our leaders in the industry. So my biggest hope today is to be able to provide some career path and help others to develop their authentic leadership skills. It may be surprising for you, but when you move to the leadership role, this is not a direct upward lift in the career ladder. It's a parallel track which requires a very different skill set. You will usually move into the leadership role within your company because you're really good in the technical skills. But becoming an engineering leader will mean the things that you will learn will be completely new, and this is entirely new job. And for some of the young leaders, this could be quite frustrating because they have spent a lot of years learning technical craft, but your hands-on experience wouldn't be so useful in the future once you are a leader. You will still benefit from your knowledge about the programming and the culture of the software engineers, but this will be not your job anymore, and it is one of the hardest lessons that you will need to learn. In the beginning, I was lucky to be able to lead informally a team, and I realized that a strong leadership doesn't mean to have the loudest voice. It's about to be prepared, thinking differently, listening more and talking less. It's about having the courage for difficult conversations, taking responsibility and adapting quickly to changing environment. And I realized that if you start separating people to leaders and followers, you shouldn't be surprised that the leaders are much more engaged and committed than the followers. I witnessed such a mindset in one of the companies I was part of, in the senior leaders in the past. They have focused on the so-called A players in the team, ignoring the rest of the team members. There may be different reasons why they acted like this, but I believe it was totally wrong. And it was an enlightening moment for me to focus on how to create leaders on all levels. In this regard, I may surprise you saying that there is no bad manager. You can learn from everyone, both from their mistakes or from the good things that they're doing, which are in line with your internal values. You can be a leader everywhere in the organization. So please focus how to become, in the beginning, informal leader and take responsibility to lead a specific topic. It can be a technical discussion as a technical owner for future implementation. It can be a presentation of the achievements of your team in front of a wider audience. And don't expect that someone will create such opportunity, especially for you. You should look for opportunity and proactively ask your line manager for support. You can stay in the comfort zone without taking responsibility, but I can assure you that this will not help your career development because you will get stuck in the progress. And why I'm saying this is because in the beginning of my career, I also had a period of time where I felt very safe in the comfort zone, and the risk was low for me. Once I realized this, that I need to step out of the comfort zone, I managed to accelerate my career. And I started facing challenges with opportunities to resolve them, which was a really good learning part. Sooner or later, an opportunity to lead will come in the organization. And my advice to you is to grab it with both hands. And I can assure you, you are going to have really difficult and hard times. You will want to give up because at the end, you will be leading people which don't come with a manual or specification. Some you will learn over the time, and sometimes in the hardest way by saying something wrong but remember that this is an important experience. For example, in Ocado Technology, we have a practice in which we allow our engineers to try a new leadership role. And because it's a safe zone for all our future managers, they have the opportunity to choose if leading teams doesn't feel as the right thing for them, they can easily go back to their previous role. So the next step in when you step in as a leader will be most probably to build a team. It can be either from scratch or extending some existing team. Think in advance how to structure the team. What are the technical skills and seniority levels? What is the ratio between the junior and the regular developers? Avoid hiring only seniors or only juniors. You need a mixture of seniority levels in order to be able to function well as a team. Also hire bright interns and help them grow. They will be invaluable asset in the near future. I have seen in my career both wrong approaches, a team of mainly juniors and a team of only seniors. With a team with 5 juniors and 1 senior, the team didn't manage to achieve any results and the delivery was delayed significantly. It was because the senior was a bottleneck and a single point of failure, and he was burning out. The juniors didn't receive enough attention to be properly mentored, and some of them were not performing at the expected level. So at the end, they resigned because they didn't have enough support. In a team of seniors, exactly the opposite case, such teams are really slow in making decisions and moving forward with the implementation of the product. Everyone in these teams have strong opinion, most probably because of their experience, and it takes much longer time to reach an agreement. For all the hires that you're doing in your company, make sure that you do the right personality check and the cultural fit on the interview process, because you have to exclude toxic people and single players. Our culture, for example, in Ocado Technology, aims to hire great team members and true tech innovators. And at the end, if you think about the results will need to be achieved by the team, not by a single team member. So for this reason, think carefully about the people that are entering the company. Until now, I haven't seen interview process which is so perfect that it doesn't lead to any mistakes. And even I, in the past, have hired toxic person who performed really well on the interview. And most probably there were some signs about his toxic behavior, but we didn't spot them because we were under the pressure to deliver and needed to hire people. I believe that with proper mentoring and support, he will change his behavior, but it didn't work. And at the end, the price that we have paid was much higher and it was too expensive. So when you're building the team, make sure you properly select the people and also establish the trust around you with these people. If you want to be a good leader, don't be afraid to hire people smarter than you, because you will rely on their support when you're making decisions, and you will be pushing together forward in the same direction. Also look for diversity. Don't hire only people like you, because you will lose the opportunity to have different opinion for the technical decisions. In the team you're building, hire at least one person with potential for a future leadership role and start working closely with him so he can replace you when you're not available. From my personal experience, I can assure you that it's a big mistake to have only strong technical profiles in the team without any interest to develop as future leaders, because it will be a big bottleneck for the future once you start scaling up your organization. uh, I do realize that it might be tempting in the beginning to hire only technical profiles when you are after achieving great delivery results, but later on you will struggle with scaling up with the organization. In one of my companies, the team members were interested in developing only their technical craft, and we have created the teams balance between the seniority level and skill skill set. But there were no future leaders among them. The only option was to hire leader externally. And what it happened, it took longer time because we have a specific cultural expectations for our candidates. And at the end, I would say the integration in the team wasn't quite fluent. I do believe that if we have thought about this strategically in the company, our company could be in a much better position when the office started expanded. We would be able to promote our leaders internally instead of hiring people externally. So the next step is, once you build the team, you need to move towards developing the team. And as your team develops, you need to invest a lot of time to improve their expertise, and it's really crucial. You need to put effort in the development of your team member skills. And another aspect is the effective collaboration. This has to be in the heart of your company culture. We encourage group decision making in order to reach to the best outcomes. And another key element, for example, in my current company, is the transparent communication and sharing. Try new things, and when the experimentation isn't successful, learn from it and share those insights with the team as well. It's really important to create no blaming culture, because this will give the team members the courage to admit openly when they make mistakes and experiment without the fear of failure. The development of your team as a leader is your responsibility, so take it. Otherwise, people will leave. If you're not there to support their growth, the team members will be not there to support you and achieve the product goals together. Each person in the team will have different interests. One of them will be passionate about the technology and developing their craftsmanship. Others will be focused on the great quality results. There will be people interested in product growth, and as your role as a leader, you need to identify what is motivating and driving each of the team members. Help them find mentors within the company or externally. Ask them if they are experienced to mentor less experienced people, because they will learn from this partnership and mentoring. Sometimes your support will mean convincing the senior leaders either to find a budget for an expensive training, or approving some time for personal development during the working hours. And I can assure you that these will be not easy conversations and sometimes you will fail. But my advice is don't give up, acknowledge what you have done wrong, and try it with a different approach. In one of the companies, I was responsible for a team who was developing a product on all technology stack. And there was a lot of technical depth, but the product itself was quite profitable. On the other hand, the engineers prefer to work on the latest and greatest technology stacks, and the product was not providing this to them. So I was start thinking how to enable and to keep the team members motivated. I decided to discuss with the senior leadership team to allow the people have a half of day every 2 weeks for personal development time during working hours. And as you can imagine, I failed with the proposal because I focused only what were the benefits for the people. I wasn't able to explain to the senior leadership what will be the benefits for the company. So I didn't give up, and then I made another iteration. I got much better prepared and shared what will be the benefits for our company with this initiative. At the end, we went and resulted in a win-win situation where this was approved. People had the time to develop their skills during working hours. Those skills and knowledge were applied into the product as improvements, and the quality of the product was improved significantly. Another aspect of the development of the team are the internal promotions, and these need to be considered really carefully because they are forming the mirror in your company. The behaviors you promote will be copied by the others, and at the end, this will be the culture in your company. And once you become a formal leader, your first thing to do is to identify who has the potential to substitute you if a change happens. It can be organizational change or you taking another leadership role, or it can be you're moving forward and leaving the current company. So basically, the delegation is one of the skills for the new leaders that are mandatory to develop. If you don't develop these delegation skills, you will burn out. Leaving the company without a person to replace you and without a handover will have an impact on the team morale, on the business. Nowadays, when I interview for leadership roles, I focus to understand, is the candidate delegating well, and has he been proactive to develop a person who can replace him when he leaves his job? And why it's important is because it helps me understand whether the candidate cares about his current company, because same behavior will be applied in the new company. In the past, I was bad in delegation because I wanted everything to be perfect. And this was when I was junior to the role as a leader. I managed to burn out 2 times because I was taking too much responsibilities. And when you burn out for the first time, you don't realize it. I managed to recover, although slowly. When I started burning out for the second time, I made a deep analysis and made a plan how to delegate some of the responsibility. I quickly initiated a discussion with the senior leadership team to get approval for additional headcount of a leadership role. And once the person was hired, I did a proper handover. So when you develop the team, most probably you will notice that sometimes the team will be struggling to deliver, and you need to reach to the root cause of this. Does the team have a heavy support load? Does the team have a huge backlog or insufficient capacity? And in such situation, my advice is to scale up the team and work towards removing the burden. It's really important when you're scaling up the team to have a clear domain separation and ownership of the components in each team. And if the software isn't ready to be separated, then your first step is to start with re-architecturing before splitting the teams. The code base and the product functionality will grow over time, and it will become very difficult for each team to know everything. So development of the new components has to be done by one of the teams at the end. In terms of shaping the team, it would be good to be up to 8, maximum 9 people with at least 2 seniors, so you don't experience any bottlenecks, 2 juniors or interns that can be properly mentored technically, and the other members to be regular engineers. And when splitting the team, if there is not enough seniors, focus on who can potentially be promoted in the near future and work closely with him. If there is no such option, then your only opportunity is to hire externally. For example, in one of the companies, I was engineering manager for a team that was a bottleneck in the delivery of the department. They had a heavy loaded backlog, and the capacity wasn't enough to fulfill the customer needs. So I have met with the product management to understand the 2 years roadmap. The team was strong and mature in a performing stage, but the capacity wasn't enough to achieve the set milestones. So after some initial discussions, I decided that we need to hire more people. Once the team reached the size of 10 people, the discussions become really ineffective in that team. And at that time, we decided that it's time to split into 2 teams. We set clear criteria about the splitting. Basically, we needed a balanced teams with enough knowledge in the product domain, and also balance in terms of seniority level. I initiated a workshop with the people, and based on these criteria, we managed to have 2 balanced teams at the end. So my advice is, when you're thinking about such split into 2 teams, please involve also the people in the team, because they know best the details compared to, how to say, to the leaders. And now we're reaching to the point where I will share with you what is it like when you have, after building, developing your team, scaling it up, what it means to disband it. Because the first 3 stages, I would say, is something normal for a company that has plans for growth and product strategy, is successful. Disbanding a team when a mission ends is completely different experience and could be, I would say, quite stressful. And your main goal need to be how to retain the people in the company. Create a plan how the business will continue to run, and also find a way to approach the situation in a such way that there is a minimal impact on the company and on the people affected by this change of the mission. In such situation, either the team will stay together and will switch to a new mission, and this is the ideal case. In other situation, if a mission doesn't exist, each team member will have to find his own mission in line with his technical expertise or product preferences. And don't forget that as a leader, you have to support your people and make sure the impact on the company is minimal as well. In one of the companies, I was accountable for a team whose product mission has ended. And it was a strategic decision. Although it wasn't with an immediate effect, and the product was expected to be maintained for the next 2-3 years, this created a lot of anxiety in the people and the team members, which I needed to take care of. Unfortunately, by the time the announcement was made, there was no new mission available for the whole team. And my main focus was to minimize the negative impact. Luckily, our company was in a growth state. We had a variety of opening roles in different teams and departments. So, as a first step, I met with each person individually to have a conversation how he's feeling about the announcement and what are his future interests. And then I organized sessions with all the leaders that had open positions to present their products. As a result, we managed to finalize what is the next mission for everyone with a concrete transition plan. One thing I would say I still regret in this experience is, despite the fact that I put a lot of effort, we lost 2 talented engineers. And as a summary, I would share with you that I'm grateful about this experience, although it was quite stressful due to the uncertainty. I learned a lot through the interaction with the people. I enabled opportunities for them to stay within the company. And I do believe that it was successful because of the high level of trust established between us. I also gained invaluable experience with disbanding the team years after building it, and it wasn't an easy job at all. So the next thing that I would like, and I'm curious to share with you, is how leading leaders is different to compared leading individual team members. I transitioned from one company to another, and the engineering manager role there was quite different. So I was expected to lead team leads. And my experience until then was leading only team members in the team, supporting their future development as professionals. In the beginning, it was really difficult for me because I was missing the direct interaction and relationship with the team members on a daily basis. And as you can imagine, I made a lot of mistakes while learning how to lead the leaders. For example, one of the mistakes was I was doing the work instead of the leaders, and I was not letting them fail. This was due to the fact that I wanted everything to be perfect, but in the longer run, this didn't help them learn fast from their failures. And also, I feel that I made this mistake because I take care of the people too much. Sometimes individual team members will approach you to get something resolved quickly instead of reaching to their team lead because they will know that they can rely on you. Unfortunately, this has exactly the opposite effect, and once quickly resolved, they tend to come back again. Try to pay more attention about such situations when they arise, uh, and when it's a team lead responsibility, something to be done, ask him to follow up instead of resolving it for him. This will help both ways. The team members to build clear understanding who is responsible for what, and will enable your team leads to develop their skills. Both for internally promoted leaders or externally hired, there are some risks that you need to pay attention and adapt your leadership style accordingly to the situation. Sometimes you will be directing those leaders that are with less experience. In other cases, you will need to step back. Keep in mind that for internally promoted leaders, it requires quite a big shift in the mindset. Uh, how to switch from an engineer being part of a team to a leader who is accountable for the delivery and the performance of the team. It's an answer, it's a question that every new leader is asking himself. I have witnessed often that internally grown people and leaders have some constraints how to lead difficult conversations with the team members purely because they're afraid of the fact that they will break their established relationship with the people in the team. And in the beginning, they're needing a lot of support with the people development, be there for them to help them. For the externally hired leaders, I would say they have a sufficient level of leadership expertise, but they lack the knowledge about the product and they need a lot of initial support until they fully on board within the domain. If a leader delays learning the domain of the product, at some point of time, it will become for him really difficult technically to catch up and can easily be demotivated. Externally hired leaders also, for them, it takes time to be accepted in the team, and gain the trust as well. When external leader introduces some change really quickly after he joins the company, although this change can be for the good of the team, at first he will receive a pushback and such change will not be adopted successfully or alternatively can be really slow. Build the needed level of trust and close connection with each team member. Focus on how to establish this personal relationship by being honest and transparent with them. Provide each leader, it's really important, autonomy to develop themselves independently and also to develop their teams independently. This, of course, should be in line with the rest of the teams in the organization because usually in the company we're having one and the same goals. Also set up regular one-to-ones which can be dedicated to some sensitive topics around team members in their team. These can be performance related or motivational, burnout, or happiness and satisfaction of the team members. And when such topic arise, The leader your team leader is struggling to resolve it, provide your support and resolve it together. People, as I mentioned to you, tend to avoid difficult conversation with the hope that the problem will disappear over the time. But from my experience, I can share with you that usually such cases escalate and they need to be solved as soon as possible. They're spotted. Also, another aspect of the one-to-ones have to be focused on the personal development of the team leader. Provide them timely feedback if you really care about their growth. And over time, they will gain the confidence to tackle the problems on their own. Encourage your leaders to go out of their comfort zone. They will have the need to face challenges, acquire new skills in order to become better and better each day. Pay attention on how your leaders feel in the company. Are they overloaded? Do they experience some personal issues that impacts them? Last but not least, it's really important each of your leaders to develop good delegation skills in order to be able to avoid overload and burnout. Be available for your leaders when they need you. When they come to you and ask you for support, make everything possible to resolve the problem they're coming to you. Mentor them and share previous experience when they come for advice. It's really also important to leave them space to resolve the issues on their own and focus how to listen carefully and ask questions to understand the details behind. Those questions will help the team members to provide the solution alone. And in case there is some, as I mentioned, organizational impediment to be resolved, which is outside the ability of the leader, be proactive and search for support with the senior leadership to remove it as soon as possible. As we're heading towards the end of the presentation, I'd like to share with you some books that I feel and found very valuable when I read them. The first one is Powerful. This is the book which you need to start with if you'd like to build a culture of responsibility and freedom. I recommend it. It's created by Patty McCord. She helped to create a unique and high-performing culture at Netflix. I would quote something said by her that teams that laugh together are not also afraid to have hard conversations and hold each other accountable. The other book that I would like to recommend is Leading Change. Why? Because when you step in as a formal leader within your organization, the change will be something regular that will be happening. Otherwise, it will mean that you are not developing in the organization. So this book will help you a lot how to address such changes, who to be involved, do it in a proper phased way, etc. And the last book I would like to share is The Tao of Coaching, which is one of my favorite books. I would admit that both of them are not very, how to say, big and don't take a lot of time to read them, but they contain really useful advices. You will never stop learning from your colleagues and peers, from the senior manager, from your friends or the family. It's about the journey of constant learning, and I advise you to enjoy it. Thank you.
Aneta, thank you so much for this journey. And I see that you focused not on yourself, not on the company, but you focused on the team. So in the levels that you have chosen, this is an excellent example of team leadership. Thank you so much for this. We have 15 minutes, even less, so I'm going to start with the questions, but please let's be very, very brief about them so that we can cover 5, 6 questions. So, Ivan asked, how did you promote internally the failure culture? It's just in one sentence, please.
Can you repeat the question, please?
How do you promote the no-blame culture so that this leadership experiments can take place and tolerate failure?
So basically, we encourage people to make experiments. And when things go wrong, which is something normal, for example, we have a production incident. We deploy a wrong version on one of the clients. First and most important is to quickly fix it, and then we start discussing. We're not focusing who has done it. We start discussing what can be improved so that at the next time we can avoid it. Basically, there is no focus on who has done the wrong thing. There is a focus on how to find the right solution so you can improve and do it better next time.
Okay, I will continue the question of Ivan from Raiffeisen. Basically, do you think this is also dependent on what kind of industry or company or service you are running, the failure culture? Because there could be some failures that cannot be tolerated and they have to be as a risk mitigated differently. For example, Ivan is from the financial sector. Do you think these things also should be, let's say, contained and planned in terms of how big the failure is?
No, I wouldn't say that it depends on the industry. You need to focus. The failure itself, I would say it's a joint effort. It's not a failure of a single person. And if someone has failed, that means that the whole organization have allowed him to fail, either to insufficient processes in place. It can be even a failure due to burnout. And also at that point of time, it's the organization who needs to provide the support. So from my point of view, I know that the sector is different. It depends on the culture in the company.
So we have to create this safe environment, and maybe the safe environment parameters could be different, but the safe environment is needed. Thank you for this. Second question is from Georgi. How to balance between day-to-day operation work and developing the team members. Here, I'm going to change this question, something much more important. As you know, in all projects, we start with the responsibility matrix. We have the responsible, the accountable, the consulted, and the informed. Normally, I would say accountable sounds like the leader. Do you think we should change the RACI matrix and also put an L in there and make it also leadership as a team role? Or do you see in your team structure and the way you organize them, is it actually one of the team members who leads? And I will also add to this question, do you use any kind of self-organizing principles for this?
Yeah, we use a lot the self-organizing principles. I do believe that the leadership should be delegated in the team. It couldn't be everything. There will be leaders for different topics within the team. So yes, if you want to change the matrix, the RACI matrix with the responsible and accountable, you can include the leadership as well.
This is a very interesting proposition. We should bring this to the designers of project management methodologies, because this is my last question and it's a very important one. Do you think the leader in this RACI matrix should have this skill and have to learn this, because we cannot really do this. It's not a natural thing. I mean, if you have watched, if you've read Lord of the Flies, if you just leave kids on their own, right, they will start actually killing each other. It's a very natural thing about people. And I actually, today, I felt like I received a master class in people management, not leadership, but people management. And when you have people, you have complexity. And people kind of dynamically change even who is the leader and who can be that. Do you think the leader can step outside of their daily job? This is an extension of the question again. And stop doing and start leading. So leading as a pure responsibility by itself. Or do you distribute this, and so that on Monday I can be the leader, on Tuesday another team member, which means, this is a big question that has been raised, teams may be more productive without leaders. This is actually a question that we are investigating right now. It has been raised in self-organizing circles. Actually, everybody can be a leader. You don't need to name such a responsibility, so that while we are self-organizing, on Monday I could be the leader, and on Friday I could be the... And this also, I think, is the true spirit of servant leadership. Do you see your team, or do you name somebody a leader, or do you just let them decide?
No, I'm not naming and not delegating to a specific person. Usually, I share what's the need and what we need to achieve, and the team is finding the best way how to achieve it. So I'm present for the team only in cases there is something which is outside of their ability to resolve it, and it's more or less when you need to interact with the rest of the organization.
One last question. What kind of project management methodology are you using? And did you have to adapt it, change it? Did you have to, let's say, transform it, or it was given to you because the corporation decides what tools and processes to use? Or were you able to adapt and decide on the way of working? How did you define the way of working?
So we're using Agile. It is not fixed for each and every team whether it needs to be Scrum or Kanban. Each team decides on its own what is the best for them in order to be able to fulfill the desired goals, the set goals. Can you repeat the last ending of the question, because it was a long one and I forgot.
Actually, you answered it, whether you used a given tool or process or methodology, or were you able to choose it yourself? And the last part was, how did you work on the way of working? Did you adapt it for your team? Did you make modifications? Because Agile is one thing.
We adapted.
Yeah. And this is what we call the evolutionary leadership, in the sense that you can even redesign. This is a word that I would like to introduce in this conference. Yesterday we talked about reframing and becoming a project designer. So actually working on the way of working, right? Defining it and making it your own team and changing it, adapting it, is actually becoming a project designer. So this is also a new thing that we should introduce into our narrative, that to be a leader, we have to first become a designer. Then we can go on to the next level, because how can you lead if you don't know how different configurations you can create? So in this sense, I thank you so much for everything that you have shared. This wasn't a personal story. You actually gave us a masterclass in people management. We thank you for this. And please, let's have a longer session. Maybe in the near future, we can maybe have 6-8 hours and comment on all the things that you said, because I have so much to learn from you. Actually, all the mistakes that you are talking, I'm making them daily. So I think this is also another thing to consider, is that naturally, or the way we are educated, and that was my last question, and you shared books, but do you also have access or suggestions on, let's say, learning courses, learning programs, learning, or maybe coaching would you say, this is my last question, would you say we have to learn all of those skills or have to unlearn some of the skills? This is one of my big questions too, and we can discuss it in another day, is what would you say as a leader, as a manager, what skill you had to unlearn? Including management, because maybe management is what we have to unlearn so that the team can perform and decide on how they want to do it themselves.
So I had to unlearn because I have a lot of experience, and in the past, the leadership was much more directive. Like our leaders were coming
Do this.
to us.
Here is your task.
Yes. Yeah, this is the task, do it, this is the deadline. And this was the example I had. So I had to unlearn it because it's changing. And nowadays, people need much more, I would say, freedom and opportunity to find it, how to solve it on their own.
Thank you so much. And we close the session. The recording will be available for everyone. And have a great day and say hello to your team.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. It was a pleasure for me. Have a
Thank you
great
so
day
much,
and
Aneta.
good luck to the next presenter. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.